Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. It's Friday. I know I'm a day late. I apologize here. I didn't quite wasn't able to record my show down to the PGA Show like I thought I would. So unfortunately, had to wait till today. But gotta do what you gotta do down there, and it's a busy week. So before we get into today's show, let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist. And the new TSR drivers, listen, the hours have been put in, the work has been done. As the moment approaches, you either fear it or feel it. For Titleist, it's a moment filled with pure anticipation, the culmination of a relentless pursuit of speed in every form. So step up and settle in with confidence. Titleist TSR is here. The new TSR drivers take everything that made TSI the number one driver on tour and pack even more performance into every head. From new face technologies to CG improvements and aerodynamic refinements, when everything moves the needle, you're playing at Titleist speed. Go to Titleist.com to learn more about the TSR metals and to schedule your fitting today. Titleist TSR, find your faster. So yeah, the Titleist booth was rocking. So we were down at the PGA Show this week. I know a lot of people said hi to me. It was really cool. I got a lot of people stop by, said hi. A lot of people were big fans of Golf WRX. Even a few people who were fans of the podcast, but really humbled. It was really nice of people to stop, say hi, chatted with a bunch of people as well. So like I said, really was humbling. It was really cool, and appreciate all the kind words people had for, like I said, both the site and what I do and all that. And it was really nice. So thank you all for that. And then yeah, it was a good week. It's always busy. It was crazy busy. So we got down on I got down Monday afternoon, went to dinner with some of the guys for Golf WRX, and then Tuesday it was on to demo day, and then Wednesday and Thursday in the convention center. And today's Friday. I flew home. My flight left at like 6:10 in the morning, so I was up at like 3:45 or 3:30 and out the door and all that. So it's been a long week. Whole lot of steps. I think it's, I don't even know how many. I don't wear like an iWatch or anything, so couldn't tell you how many I took, but it was a lot. But it was good. It was a good time. It was a good week. Weather was awesome. A lot of times you get demo days and they get super windy. We've had some cold ones, some really hot ones. We've had some rainy ones, but thankfully this week's was really good. But overall, it was fun. It was a good week in Orlando, and saw a lot of faces of, because I haven't been in 2 years. I thought it was 3, so I was talking with some people. It ended up being 2. I went in 2020, and then 21 they didn't have it, and then 22 last year. We just had a few people go down, so I was off by a year. But either way, in 2 years you email people, call people, whatever, and you don't have a face to go with a name. And saw a lot of faces that went with email signatures and stuff like that, which was really nice and really cool. A lot of people always ask, what are the coolest products, whatever. It's weird for us in media because a lot of the stuff, especially on the club side and everything we've seen, that stuff is either out already, it's been out, or it's about to come out, or has come out, or whatever. That stuff isn't new to us. It's nothing too crazy. We've seen it, so there's not a lot of that stuff. A lot of the stuff that's interesting is, whether you go to the training aid side or the clothing or accessories. Shoes, stuff like that. Those are the things that you kind of see stuff that, at least here at Golf WRX, we don't see a lot of. We're not great, we're not huge at covering shoes and stuff like that. So those are the things we don't see a whole lot of. But good show. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I got there Tuesday demo day. If you have never been there, it's pretty interesting. It's a huge driving range. It's like a gigantic circle. It's like 400 yards across, and basically the whole thing is lined with different companies. And whether it's big companies like Titleist and Cobra, Srixon, Cleveland, those, or it's some smaller guys you never heard of that make different stuff. The whole thing's lined. So walked around that whole circle. Took I think almost 470 photos or something. I don't know. It was a lot. Took a ton of photos. We got them all uploaded. If you go to the forums in Golf WRX, forums.golfwrx.com, you can see kind of all the photos we took. I don't know how many we posted. It would be interesting to go through and count, but it was a lot. I was taking photos, and then our managing editor, Gianni, who actually came in from Ireland, was taking photos as well. So him and I think each night, I think Thursday we had the fewest, and I think we had almost 400 between us two. I think we had 800 from demo day and almost 800 the first day or something like that, or 700. It was a lot. So it was a lot of photos. So all uploaded into the forum, and you can go check it out, see what's there. We would have loved to take more, but you run out of time, you run out of energy, and it's just it's tough. So, but it was a good show. Like I said, demo day was really nice. Like I said, it wasn't too windy. It was really nice weather. Walked around, saw everybody's booth. Like I said, got a lot of photos, and it was pretty busy. There were a good amount of people there. A lot of people hitting balls. Everybody kind of did it a little differently. They kind of renamed it like the demo day and fitting show or whatever. And I don't know how many like fittings were going on. I know people were definitely hitting balls and all that. There were a few TrackMans and stuff like that, GC quads in people's bays, but I don't know how many like true fittings were going on to fit people into clubs. But we'll see what comes out of that. But I didn't hit any balls on demo day. I literally hit 0 balls. I didn't do anything, and I never do. Like I typically don't. I always walk around, get photos, say hi to people, all that. So I literally didn't hit any balls. And I think in my 6 was it 6 or 5 demo days that I've been to, I would venture to say I've hit less than 10 balls. And I think all of them were basically 1 year. Right when Titleist brought out the concept irons, I think that was like the only time I hit golf balls. I like shanked a couple concept irons, and that was about it. So the demo day was interesting, and then you get to the show floor, and it's definitely a little different show in terms of TaylorMade's not there, and that's kind of the one big OEM that wasn't. I mean, Callaway was there with their booth, but they weren't really showing off a ton of clubs, because I think if you went in that booth, there were probably like maybe a dozen drivers in there. There were probably maybe a dozen fairway woods, whatever. There wasn't a crazy amount of clubs, because I mean they figure everybody's seen the clubs. The clubs are done. The accounts that are actually selling them have seen them. They put their orders in. The media people have seen them. So a lot of it was just kind of paradigm stuff and kind of there. But it was an interesting booth, because it wasn't just packed with clubs and golf balls and all that. It definitely was more of a kind of a showpiece and kind of a hangout place. They had a bunch of benches and stuff like that. People were hanging out, probably catching up on emails or stuff like that. The Titleist booth was its usual Titleist booth. It was absolutely packed on Wednesday, so the first day of the show in the convention center. It was absolutely packed. I went in there to get shots of the T200, T100 black versions, because I know a lot of our members wanted to see those, and then the new Scotty Cameron putters as well. Those got photos of. Did that. That place was jamming. It always is. The first day everybody runs in there. They do a really big Scotty Cameron display, so that goes up, and everybody wants to see all the head covers they bring, all the putters, all that stuff, and it was jamming. So got to also talk to my good buddy Austin Rollinson. And I got to talk to him for a while. It was great. I haven't seen him in a while. I tried to talk to him on demo day a little bit. He stopped by and tried to, flag me down a little, but was talking to somebody else and busy. And that's just kind of how it goes. But I talked to him for a good bit, and he's such an awesome dude, such a nice guy. But chatting about what he's doing over at Titleist now, and working with Scotty and some stuff. It was pretty cool to get to catch up with him. And like I said, probably somebody I haven't seen in 2 years at least from not being at shows. We get to catch up with him, and then also ran into, honestly, I'm a big fan of watches, as some of you guys may know. I don't own anything special or anything, but I'm a big fan. And if you're not familiar with Junkie, then you might not be into watches. But Ben Clymer, who started that, was there. It was his first show. He's big into golf. He's buddies with Adam Scott. Met him, got to talk to him for a few minutes, and he was a super nice guy as well. But ran around there, went there. The Cobra booth was really nice. I mean, they have a really cool booth. Titleist is really nice. Went over to Mizuno. Everybody, I mean, just running around, and it's interesting because always, like I said, people ask, what's your favorite part of the show, or what did you see? My favorite part of the show was seeing people, because that's just, it's just fun. And like I said, it's people that you don't get to see. Some of the interesting things I saw, we'll just get into that. And today's show is going to be short because, one, I've been up since 3 a.m., and 2, it's been a long week on my feet and lower back and all that. It's just been a long week, so we're not going crazy with this. But some of the interesting things I saw, some of the things I really liked and didn't really know much about that I got to see. I'll go with right out of the gate. Seeing the black irons from Mizuno and Titleist were really cool. We've seen the previous black versions of Titleist irons, but the T100, T100, T100S, and T200s look really good in black. They have kind of a stock black shaft in them as well, but just kind of that murdered out look is really cool. The new Scotty putters are beautiful. Some people were complaining they didn't have enough change to them. I really like that they're doing some wider flange blades. I mean, as you guys know, I've been kind of playing a Bettinardi for a long time, but the putters look awesome, and they've got I think it's like a Newport 2 Plus and then like a Newport 2 Square back. So depending on how wide you want to go, I thought the Plus was perfect. It looked really good. I like a little more. A little longer front to back on my blade putters, and that one definitely had it, but they're beautifully milled. The necks, just a little bit of detail in the necks and stuff, just really awesome. They didn't fill in the cavities with any paint. They look just really good naked. I mean, overall, just a great putter line. I didn't roll any putts with them. I took a bunch of pictures, and that's it. The Phantom stuff looked really good as well. Just kind of black and white. They've kind of lost the neon green with them. So that was pretty awesome. I really liked the look of those. The Titleist booth, like I said, those were kind of the new things there. They all look pretty impressive. Mizuno had black Mizuno Pro 225s, so those are coming out in black. I did not see, I know some people asked, like 221s, 223s in black. Did not see any of those. I looked all over the booth. Only saw the 225s in black from them. They looked really good. They looked actually like a little smaller, a little more slim. And at a dress, they looked really solid. I mean, the 225 is already a pretty good looking iron, good size, all that. I think it looks improved in black. I think it just, like I said, just visually kind of tricks your eye into thinking it's a little smaller, a little more compact, but you're still going to get all that forgiveness and all that distance out of that iron, which is pretty cool. But they look really good. I know those are floating all over the internet as well, or all over the internet, like Instagram, whatever, as well. But those look really good. I'm trying to think. LA Golf had their putters out there. They've got a whole line of carbon head putters, and they're basically carbon heads with tungsten weights. And I think it's called the Malibu X, which is kind of like a number 7 Fang. They're going to do a couple different necks on it. I actually kind of like one-handed just a couple putts with them as I was talking to Brandon over there, and it was awesome. It actually felt really good. It had like a nice kind of really soft feel to it, just a little bit of click. They've got the same face technology as Sick does in their putters, so that descending loft technology, and they rolled the ball really nice. It was also crazy. They had something like, I don't remember the exact gram weight, so don't quote me on this, but it was something like the 2 Fangs had big tungsten weights on them, and one was like 87 grams or 85 grams, and the other one was like 130, or it was like over 100 grams of tungsten on just one Fang. So the other 2 Fangs there, and one, it's because the head's made of carbon, so they need to add weight to get the head weight up, and 2, they just blast the MOI like through the roof. So really cool looking putters. They come with, you can order it with a couple different necks. I thought they were going to be like $1,500, like the prototype that first came out from LA Golf, and I think they're going to be around. There's 2 models. There's one with there's one that's forged carbon. It has all the swirling and all the crazy carbon look, and I think those are like $600 or something like that. And then they make one that's a little different process with the carbon. And it's more of a smoother satin, matte finish. And I think those are like $499, and they can have some. I think maybe some of the necks or something may slightly increase those prices. But with those prices, you get an LA Golf putter shaft in it. So I mean, value-wise, they seem like pretty darn good value. I mean, the shaft alone is $400 or $350, $400, and then putter head on there. I feel like you're getting a pretty good value. If you're into those things, but those things look really good. Like I said, took just like 3 putts with them, kind of one-handed. Just there was a couple balls over there, and as I was talking, kind of hit a few putts, and really, really good feel to them. Really nice. I was really impressed with them. The other things there, I mean, like I said, a lot of the stuff was stuff you've seen. Nothing too crazy. A ton of simulator stuff, but it's hard to get a lot of detail on simulator stuff, and because people are hitting balls in there, and the people who are working for those brands are working are with those people hitting balls, but tons of simulator stuff. It's interesting because there's a lot of simulator stuff. A lot of it was kind of built into bays, and a lot of it like either hung from the ceiling or had some kind of like more permanent mount. They weren't like really launch monitors, so they were really interesting in how they were doing it. And it's interesting of how many people have access to install one of those in a personal setting. If you have like a place like 5-Iron Golf, who has locations across the country, you have bays that are dedicated for those. They're never going to move, whatever. But in a house, like how many people are putting these things in their houses? How many houses have room for them and all that stuff? Because you need a pretty tall ceiling, all that. So we're kind of internally just kind of throwing the question around about simulators and in terms of price points, what's the market for those price points? Because there's a lot of R&D and a lot of research and a lot of options coming out in that simulator market, and it's just interesting like how many do these companies sell? Because they're definitely selling fewer, say $50,000 or $60,000 units compared to the out of a box like $10,000 one, but it's just an interesting field. But it's seeing some cool stuff. TrackMan had like kind of like a little game set up now with theirs. They had on the screen where they're set up targets throughout this little like western town looking thing, and you try to hit balls like over the house onto the target at certain yardages and things like that. So that kind of stuff is pretty cool, showing up and just adding more things that you can do if you do own launch monitors. Speaking of launch monitors, I know the big thing that everybody wanted to see, and I know we got photos of and all that, is Rapsodo's new mobile launch, their new mobile launch monitor 2, MLM2. That is out. Really good looking unit, really small, like much smaller, much different shape or anything that I think anybody expected. It's almost like a stick on a tripod with a couple cameras. Still used as Doppler radar, but they use the cameras to so you can record your swing. I can't even talk today, I'm sorry. To record your swing, but they've added spin to this one, so it'll record spin, descent angle of like 13 data points now, compared to the previous one that only had a handful. You were getting kind of yardage, ball speed, those type of things. Now you're adding in a lot of, like I said, spin numbers and all that, and they were showing off and saying, accuracy compared to more expensive units, they were like right there within like 100 to 75 RPM type thing. I mean, they were pretty confident with the accuracy of the unit. And like I said, it looks really good. I mean, it's small. You can kind of toss it in your, you can store it in your bag real easily. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Like I said, really kind of a cool thing, and I think it's $700, so still under the $1,000 threshold. And if it's given good spin numbers and all that, I think a lot of people are looking for really accurate units in that price range. So more than their first MLM, but they didn't crank the price up to a crazy high number, which is pretty awesome and pretty cool to see. I know it comes with like a set of, or a sleeve of like Cleveland Callaway chrome softballs that have some markings on them for forward spin indoors, and like I said, a really cool looking unit. I didn't hit any balls on it. I kind of watched some people hit some balls on it, and the numbers coming up and all that. It's hard to say with any accuracy with just watching somebody hit if they're accurate or not. But like I said, a really good looking unit. The mobile launch monitor is pretty darn good for $500. So I'm assuming with all the data they've compiled and done, and all the data they have compiled and used, the mobile launch monitor 2 is probably pretty darn good. So it'll be interesting to see $700. I don't know. We'll see if I'll be able to get my hands on one to hit balls on it, but it definitely has a pretty cool look, and it seems like it's going to be a really good value. So I think that'll be pretty popular with most golf WRXers, who are all looking for stuff like that. The other one that was really really interesting. There was a handful, but Fine Tune Golf, which is some guys out of New Zealand doing some really kind of crazy stuff. I went over there and took photos, and they had some kind of wild milled putters with different neck combinations and head combinations, and you could kind of modify heads a little bit. And they had a bunch of crazy anodized colors for some of the putter heads, and they also had, which isn't on their website yet, which if you go to their website, they just have putters right now, but they actually had a wedge with an interchangeable sole. And I know I talked about the Vega Alcor Tour, like just previously on one of my podcasts. This very similar design. They had their own features to it where how they mounted the screws and the screws going into the head at certain angles, so that way they were more secure and it didn't affect the center of gravity so much. The rear piece was all milled as well, which is pretty cool. And the other part of it was interesting was that the soles, they designed them where they fit on each head. So like we're with Vega, like if you buy a 56 degree, there's only the sole plate is for the 56, and that's it. Theirs, you can take the 56 plate, put it on a 50 or 52, or put it on a 60, and further kind of adjust how that bounce works and how that sole plays. And then also right and left-handed wedges, they're the same. Like they're not like if it's a lefty wedge, you can still take the plate off a right-handed wedge and it fits perfectly and plays the same there. It was a really interesting, really cool design. They had like a matte black version. They had a silver version as well. But really just a cool design, a lot of milling on the back, especially on the removable plate. Their putters were really cool as well. I didn't roll any putts, but I got a handful of photos of them and some cool designs and, really interesting, high quality looking putters that, from some guys out of New Zealand that, didn't even know they existed, which, I can't know everything, but meeting them, they were super nice, explaining a lot of their stuff. And like I said, if you go on their website, right now the wedges aren't there. I jumped on their website just to check. But they just have putters at the moment. They're not crazy cheap. I'll say. I mean, I think what they call an SM1, which is kind of like a Fang putter, just in black. I think starts at almost $800, which isn't crazy cheap or anything, but it's a pretty cool looking putter, and they do some pretty nice work over there. So it'll be exciting to see what they do with the wedges when they do finally come out, because I did I always forget to ask like what's the price and things like that, and I just forget to do that stuff because you're going to so many booths, you're taking so many pictures, you're talking to so many people, and you kind of forget to ask certain questions. So the wedges, I don't know when they're coming out or what price they're going to be at, but the putters looked really good. Yeah, I mean the other things that were kind of cool. There was some guys there. It was called Hutch Golf or Hutch Design, and it was a guy he only had like 3 of them, but they were these little they look like boxes. And when I walked up to the booth, I thought they were like kind of display cases for clubs. They were kind of squared off, and they kind of, I don't know how to explain it like over a podcast in terms of the shape, but it was like basically a flat front and then an angled top, that kind of went up, and it was all curved and whatever. And so I stopped by and looked. I thought they were just because he had 3. He had one that was kind of like clear acrylic and all that, and had clubs in it and some like little drawers and stuff. And then he had a middle one that was made, I found out of wood, that had slide out drawers. It had the clubs all attached onto the inside and kind of like a pool cue style holder, with a plastic clip with like a foam in it. And they were all set up, and then the other one had like an actual full top on it, so it was completely covered. And I guess they're prototypes of something he's working on, getting plastic versions for a travel case. So they'll have wheels and a handle, all that jazz in them. And it was a pretty cool idea. I mean, the guy's a long way away from having a product that's sellable. I mean, like I said, the ones he had were made out of wood, and they looked like to be like hand painted and stuff, which was they were still cool. But I honestly think they'd be cool as just a display piece. Like you could take a whole 13 or 14 piece set of clubs from driver down to putter, and it only takes up like maybe a foot of space. I mean, it was really maybe not even that. It was really narrow, but it still displayed the clubs and all that. It was actually kind of a cool thing. And like I said, he had little drawers and stuff like that built into it, so you could put your that were like foam lined, and they had spots for your rangefinder and tees and divot repair tools. All that stuff was like organized and set in there and set in foam. And I was like, man, that would just be a cool thing to have at home. You could set a couple of them up, well, if you're kind of like us people, you could set a couple of them up and set, a bunch of different clubs in there, and it'd be a great way to kind of store stuff, and then you'd have, space for your other little trinkets and other things that come out of your golf bag, and it was a cool design. Like I said, it's supposed to be a travel case. I don't think there's any, what do you call it, any website or anything like that for it yet, but it was, the company was kind of called Hutch, and it was all a prototype thing, but it was pretty cool. And like I said, I think if the travel case doesn't come to fruition, I think it's a really cool display case, and I think you could do some cool stuff with like logos on the front and all that stuff. It would be pretty awesome. So we'll see where those things like that go. Let's see, what else do we have? We had stuff like Smathers and Branson, which they're kind of an accessory company, but they do a lot of like needlepoint. So they do a lot of head covers that are like half leather, half needlepoint with like really cool logos and stuff like that. They didn't really have anything new. Everything, like, I shot all the pictures of it. I just really think they make cool stuff. So I shot all the photos. They didn't really have anything new that I noticed, but they had a lot of the just cool head covers and all that. I think their stuff is kind of classic and pretty cool. They make like needlepoint woven belts with like leather ends, just classy, high end looking stuff. And they're not wildly expensive. I mean, they're not cheap. Don't get me wrong, but they had some pretty cool stuff. They always do. I mean, every year their whole back wall is head covers and little pillows, and I think they had a cool little like toiletry type bag that the whole one side was embroidered and had the Arnie umbrella on it, which I mean just looked really cool. It was like a dark brown leather with that kind of on the one side. Just looked really awesome. They had like a Wingfoot type logo on a little pillow that was all needlepoint, kind of crocheted, whatever you want to call it. Just really cool stuff, and I always love taking a picture of their booth because I always want their stuff, and I don't know, I just don't have any of it. I haven't bought any of it, so but their stuff is really really pretty cool. Some of the stuff that was interesting. I mean, walked by the Squares shoe booth, tons of new style, like they have a mesh version, tons of new colors. They had just a ton of shoes out there that they were rocking, but they got tons of colors. I mean, orange, lime green, red. I mean, they got tons of colors coming out. A mesh version that's lightweight, more lightweight, and it's still it's breathable and cool. Same soles that are built for for stability and increased power, but the amount of colors and options that they're going to have for next year are really really big. So that was kind of cool to see that. Because I guess I didn't know they were coming out with that many colors and all that. I guess they're not going to do as many special editions like they've done previously. They're going to focus on kind of doing a lot of stuff that's just in the line and ready to go. But a lot of it looked really good. They had a really cool one that was white and kind of had a blue Hawaiian floral print through it as like the detail, and I thought it looked really really good. They had some cool stuff. Shoe wise, I do have to say that I didn't realize Johnston and Murphy, the shoe company, they got into golf like I think a couple of years ago. Johnston and Murphy had I'd seen like the ads in like a Golf Digest or like on TV or wherever online. You'd see some ads, and then I didn't realize how many golf shoes they had. Like I thought they had like one or two styles, maybe three, whatever. They had a ton of styles. Like I couldn't believe like I was as I was taking photos. The guy was like, "Oh, here," and he walked over to this wall, and it was like almost all golf shoes, and I was blown away how many styles. I just didn't realize how many options they had. Super cool pair that was like kind of a classic leather like casual sneaker, like one of those like Cole Haan types. It's like leather. It's a sneaker, but you can wear it with like dress pants or golf pants or whatever, wear it to work. They had one that was kind of a slightly off white color. That was Masters, and then the back heel had like a green patch with like kind of a floral type pattern embossed in it. There was like just a touch of like yellow gold trim on it, and then the sole, it was a spikeless shoe that it had clear rubber, and underneath it was like a green floral type pattern that was on the bottom. It was just a cool looking shoe. Like I wouldn't even want to golf in it. I would just want to wear it. It's just a really cool shoe. But they had so many styles. Like I said, I was just kind of shocked that they must have had like 10 different styles for men, and it was just a lot of kind of cool shoes. And like I said, pretty impressed with how many they had and the options they had, because I didn't know any of them existed. On the shoe side, True Linkswear had some cool stuff. We actually we might have been the first one to do in hand, shot of their new Knit 3 that's coming out in March, I think they said. Don't quote me on that. Again, like with all the dates and all the stuff that people give you, I think it's coming out in March. New Knit 3 looked really good. It almost looked a little more slim and sleek compared to the original Knit. Still had some cool detail woven into it with some, what most shoes would have, pieces of leather or whatever. They kind of knit that stuff in with different weaves, and it looked really good. The traction on it looked like it was pretty solid. It had a pretty aggressive sole, and I didn't try it on or anything like that. I mean, it's one of those, you walk in there, but the guys over at True are always super nice and just come on in, take some photos, hang out. They had a really cool booth, and even made me a custom patch hat that is still in my suitcase. I haven't pulled it out yet, but super nice guys. But the new Knit 3 looks really good. I think that shoe's going to do really well. A lot of their stuff looked awesome, but like I said, that Knit 3 we got a photo of. They got some really cool apparel with some material that was just crazy soft. I don't even remember the names of the stuff that was going into it, but it was a sweatshirt that, I mean, it was probably the softest sweatshirt I've ever felt. And, as something that you could wear to play, just every day. Some cool apparel stuff that they're going to do as well. So they're going to have some new and exciting things. And then there was a brand, I'm trying to figure out, I think they're like based out of Houston, and they're a shoe company, and I gotta pull it up because I can't remember the name. It's like Botax or something like that. Jim Furyk just started wearing their shoes, and they're really kind of creative. Boxto, Boxto shoes, and they are super classic, beautiful shoes that were just kind of crazy. They actually have alligator skin shoes, like a white pair, a black pair, whatever. And I guess you get like a certificate that shows that it's real alligator. I guess there's something where if you and again, this is like out of my price range. These things were like $2,000 to $3,000, right around that. They were inside that price range. Beautiful kind of classic, like leather soles with spikes on them. And the guy was saying there's other companies that have made, alligator shoes, but theirs are the only ones that I guess for golf at least that come with a certificate of authenticity to say that yes, this is a real American alligator or whatever. I guess there's a thing where companies claim it's alligator, they say it's real, whatever, and then it turns out not to be or whatever. I didn't realize that this was something that went on, so it was kind of cool to talk to the guy here. But with these, you actually get a certificate with them that says this is real alligator, all that. And like I said, they're not cheap. They're the alligator ones were like $2,000 to $3,000, like $2,500. They had some type of box they would come in. You could get a matching belt with a gold buckle that was an X. I mean, super super classy. I have a picture of the box on there. But just some really kind of cool styles. I really like they had kind of a little more modern version. They had one with kind of a more rubber sole, kind of like the FootJoy Traditions. It was a little more structured than that. They had one that was white leather with just a little bit of alligator type tone to it. They made a spikeless version that was pretty interesting. But just some really cool classic wingtip style designs they were just kind of cool. The women's stuff they had was really awesome too. Like I said, the same thing, kind of crazy wingtip, little bits of alligator styles on there and all that. But I guess Furyk just started wearing their stuff. He was in their booth. I remember I walked by. I had a meeting, so I couldn't. He was there from 1 to 3. But I had a meeting, and I walked by, and he was there putting a pair on, sitting down, putting a pair on. And it looked like they were, I don't know if they were fitting him or what, but he was getting shoes put on. And it was pretty cool. They, like I said, they just have just some cool styles. And I don't think I can afford any of them. I'll have to look up, site-wise what they cost. I definitely can't afford the alligator ones. Those aren't going on my feet, even though they looked pretty awesome. But, they're not going on. I mean, club-wise, the other thing that's pretty cool, I saw the new Adele SMS Pro iron. So Adele's got the SMS iron with the 3 movable weights. They have a Pro version that will be coming out shortly, or possibly shortly. Again, don't remember exact date. Got to hold the actual head in my hand. My buddy over there, Justin, had just a head in his bag, so had the head in my hand. Looks really good. Fully milled sole. The sole's awesome. It's got like different bevels on it for turf interaction. It almost looks like the way they milled it or the way they forged it. It's a forged head. The way they did it, it almost looks like the weights are smaller. The way the little cavity is where those weights go into, but they're not. They're the same weights. But it's more compact, smaller head. I believe it's just a one-piece forged. Very little offset, thin top line, really good looking like player's iron. So it'll be really cool to see those. I think I'm going to get at least like an iron, like a 7-iron to hit, and at least review it for the show, which is awesome. They also have a new wedge grind as well for their lob wedges called the P grind. Haven't seen it yet. I think I'm going to hopefully get one of those to try out as well. But the SMS Pro iron looks really good, and I know the SMS iron, the standard one, is done really well. Their whole thing is movable weights can affect kind of the not only ball flight. If you move the heavy weight to the heel, it'll can produce a draw for some players. Move it out to the toe, it can produce some fade. It's more also about the feel of it, because that moving that weight changes a little bit of the feel of the club through the swing, and you always grab one of those clubs sometimes and you swing it and you're just like, man, this thing feels so good. And a lot of it is just kind of like that gear effect through the swing. The weighting on certain clubs, that's what you like. So the weights kind of do two things, and they can kind of do both. And like I said, this is just a more compact version. And from what they were saying, the weights are even more effective because there's less MOI in this head. It's not as forgiving as the standard SMS. So the new Pro, they say the weights actually even add a little more flight bias, as well as kind of changing the feel, because there's just less forgiveness and less MOI built into the club. So it's going to be interesting to hit those. Super excited to hit them. Trying to think what else that was kind of cool. Me and my golf had like a really interesting training aid called they called it like the breaking ball training aid. And basically it's a ball with like a kind of a screw in it, and the ball, instead of your putting mat or your putting green or whatever having break to it, you could basically practice breaking putts with just this ball. So the ball would actually is weighted where it'll go left or go right or whatever, and basically you'd practice aiming and hitting the right speed and all that with breaking putts on a perfectly flat mat, which was pretty interesting. They had like a little screw system in them and stuff like that. And there were like 3 different models. But kind of a cool little thing. I didn't mess with it. I saw some people putting with it, and the ball did break. Like it went left or right or whatever. Like I watched people hit them, and I don't know what they could, because you could make it break less or more. And it was pretty interesting. I saw a few people hit some putts, and one person had it. It broke pretty hard. It probably went 6 inches to the left, and then I saw one that I didn't even think was breaking much, and. So it's a pretty interesting little training aid. They're just coming out with it, but it's called like the breaking balls, and it's got like these weighted balls that will actually break towards whatever the target. So you can practice, some non-straight putts on your straight putting mat, which is kind of cool. I think that's pretty interesting to be able to have that option, and like I said, kind of work on speed and things like that. What was it? Club Car had a really wild golf cart called the what was it called? Jeez, I can't remember what this thing was called. They had a golf cart it was kind of like set up like a pontoon boat the way it was done. But Club Car had this car, and it was called like the Crew, and it's street legal. It was kind of big. Like, I mean, a golf cart's kind of a wild word, but it had basically 2 front seats, a completely covered glass top. They said it was DOT approved. It had turn signals, all that. It had a spot for license plate. It had seat belts. It had everything. But the driver's side was kind of closed off, or not closed off, like it was halfway up. It was, had a molded plastic, and then it had a little like backrest type gate set up. and basically so the two front seats, and then the back was like a L-shaped recliner almost. It was like an L-shaped seating, and in the middle was a table that I guess was removable. You could pull it out, and then the front seats, the backs to them actually flip forward. So if you flip them back in traditional position, you'd be driving the golf cart, and then if you stopped, whatever, you could flip the seat back up, and you could face the table and all the people, and it was like a hangout. And then on the passenger side, the kind of wall or the side of the body only went like past the back wheels and had a big opening where you could get in and out and walk around. It was really kind of cool, really interesting. Like I said, I think it made me think of a pontoon, but with wheels. I think they said it would do like between 20 and 30 miles. At it does 25 miles an hour, but it had like headlights, tail lights, everything. I didn't unfortunately get the price on it, of course, again, but got some cool photos of it, and just really kind of cool. I mean, it's not really meant as a golf cart. It's more like a transportation thing, so you wouldn't be playing golf, but it'd be kind of cool to put like some bag racks on the back and put some bags, and then if you're playing, it's a slow day, you're playing behind some slow groups, sit back at the table, have a cocktail, things like that. It was a pretty cool looking thing and pretty unique idea I haven't seen previously. Club wise, I'll also say that the Snake Eye stuff was pretty cool. I know somebody asked about the adapter on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, at Club Junkie Pod. I know somebody asked about the adapter because it kind of looked like a TaylorMade adapter from the ferrule. I did not get over there to pull one apart or ask them to pull it apart to get a picture, so I don't know yet what that looks like for the driver. But those guys are pretty excited that they're bringing out wedges. They have wedges, irons, forged irons, forgiving irons, all this stuff. And then they had woods, hybrids, all that. The stuff looked pretty good. The woods, had a little closed look to them. They're meant to be forgiving, all that, but they had a forged player's iron that looked really good. The wedges looked really solid. The wedges, I think, are like $89 a piece, is what they were saying. Is kind of the targeted retail price. I don't remember what they said for the forged irons. They were a little more, but the stuff actually looked really good. I'm a big fan of kind of the Snake Eyes name. When I started, getting back into golf in the early 2000s, Snake Eyes was at Golfsmith. You could buy the heads and components and stuff like that and put your own clubs together. I thought it was pretty cool. I never owned any of them. I might have maybe I had a wedge or something like that, but I didn't buy like a whole set of irons or woods or anything. I had a friend who I think had a Snake Eyes driver with like a Killer Bee shaft or something for when he was in high school. But it was cool to see the name. To me, it's it's kind of a cool name, and to see it come back was pretty awesome. The McGregor irons, speaking of another name of old names being resurrected, the McGregor irons look pretty good. Definitely not the like tiny compact players irons you thought they would be. They're definitely like a multi-piece forgiving hollow body iron. They look pretty good. They had a little more offset than I think most of our audience would care to have, but they looked really good. The fit and finish was simple, clean, with the logo on it, and then Ram as well. It looks like they were coming back, and the same thing. Bigger, more offset, multi-piece, hollow body, forged irons. But that's what let's be honest, that's what the average golfer is looking for. So they look pretty good. They came in a black finish and a chrome finish. Zebra putters are back. The zebra putters look pretty good. They had a nice metal face insert, all milled. They also had some wedges as well. That they were really big into customizing. Had a ton of examples out with like flags, Pulp Fiction characters. I mean, they had, you name it, they had it. The wedges look pretty good. There wasn't a ton of bounce options with them, but they looked really good, and like the customization thing seems to be pretty cool with those. The zebra putters were solid. They they actually looked better than I thought. I thought they were going to be kind of a really cheap kind of price point thing. They looked definitely better than that. And the zebra lines and all that were pretty cool. They had some nice. The weights on them actually had like zebra stripes, like kind of not just straight lines like the top of the putter, but it kind of had like wavy kind of like zebra stripes on them, just milled into them. There's no paint or anything, just kind of milled in or cast into them. They look pretty good. So there was a lot of stuff like that. I unfortunately didn't make it crazy over to the apparel side, so unfortunately I didn't see a ton of the apparel this year. I ran out of time, between having meetings with people and stuff like that, and shooting other booths and all that. I just talking to people. I just unfortunately didn't have enough time to get over and check out a ton of the apparel, but there was a lot of it there. There's a ton of it there. So I know this episode was me just kind of rambling on, but the show was pretty good. People asked, "Is the show back?" I don't know if it's back to the glory days in terms of that many people and that much action, but I do have to say it was pretty good. The vibe was really strong. People were having a good time. People were pretty excited. Almost everybody that I talked to said that they were pretty busy at their booth. They had a lot of people, a lot of interest. There were one or two people who had, who didn't have that same thought. They thought it was kind of dead and whatever. I think a lot of it depended on your booth and on your product, because this show is really geared around golf professionals and people who work in the golf industry and golf shops and things like that. And if you're really not displaying a new product that really fits that, you probably were a little bit slow. If you're somebody who's expecting to kind of like sell putters there, it's probably not happening, or not very much. I did see some people walking with Autoflex shafts, so some people were buying Autoflex shafts right from the booth, which was kind of wild. But it was, it was kind of like I said, I thought the show was really good. Everybody I saw and talked to was having a good time and thought it went really well. So there is stuff going on today there. I think it's just like a half day. It might be over now, but I was out this morning, so it was a good show. Like I said, I'm really happy and proud to be able to talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people said hi, and I appreciate that. Handed out a few stickers, and it was fun. So that's all I've got today. I know it's kind of a crappy show, and I know it's kind of kind of rambling, but yeah, that was the 2023 PGA Show. It was pretty cool. So if you have any questions, anything like that, any comments, whatever, hit me up on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. And then, we'll have a more full show next week. We'll talk about some clubs. I got a ton of stuff still to hit, so I got to get out to the range and hit some balls. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe, play some golf if you can, and we'll talk to you guys next week.